The eternal president of this country, Kim Il-sung, is dead. His body lies here at the Jusuk Palace, first stop for every foreigner, and compulsory in every sense. North Koreans too are bussed here from all over the country. Every week, 40,000 of them file through this building in their Sunday best to see their president's body lie in state. In North Korea's version of history, Kim Il-sung saved the communist North from US occupation, a humiliation their poor Korean cousins in the South are still forced to endure. Few here know they're shorter than their capitalist counterparts. These are our minders. Every visitor gets one of these, and we've got two. Hwang, the veteran party man, and his ambitious junior, Yong Man. Their job is to watch us and ensure we show the country their way, with due respect to their demigod, Kim Il-sung. Kim the father, the great leader, died 10 years ago, leaving the kingdom to his anointed son, Kim Jong-il, the dear leader. Theirs is the only dynasty in the history of communism. Today, Kim the son likes to be known as the Great General, a military genius protecting his country from the next US invasion. Imminent any day. We've been brought to Kim Jong-il's old school, reserved for the elite, Workers' Party families only. And so we would like to ask you a few questions. We come from England, and we want to ask... Just 8 and 9 years old, and they're all already well on message. Do you know the name of the President of the United States? Bush. So, would you like to send a message to President Bush?
I want to tell him to get out of South Korea and stop slaughtering South Korean children. It fills me with rising hatred.
What do you think the United States thinks of DPRK?
The United States wants to occupy the whole Korean peninsula. The United States is our sworn enemy.
Which, in North Korea, is the right answer? They've arranged our tour to show North Korea's version of the truth. Pyongyang was built with Soviet money. When the Cold War ended, everyone thought the regime would collapse, but they were wrong. Our minders' aim is to help us set the record straight and correct the myth so popular with the foreign media that North Korea is a basket case.
Western media always show the opposite of the truth. Speak with your own voice, objectively. Don't just repeat what others say. If you report what you see here, we'll be really happy. That's why we invited you.
Panmunjom for that Cold War frisson. The border with South Korea is always popular with visitors. This too is a stage set of a kind, but for North Koreans it's a deadly reality. Millions died in the Korean War between North and South half a century ago, and both sides are still on constant alert. The North Korean army is said to be 1 million strong and armed to the teeth. Outside North Korea, it's known the North started the Korean War and invaded the South. There are documents to prove it, but no one thinks that here. This is North Korea's version.
The United States started the Korean War in order to occupy this country. Their aim is to conquer the whole of Asia and use the Korean Peninsula as a first step.
Is it possible that you may have been misled, misinformed about this piece of history?
Don't give me pro-American propaganda. I don't like it, and it's against our military rules.
Because in the West it is said that the people of this country have been told a big lie about this war.
Even if you had proof, we would never accept it, because it's all fake. And it wouldn't change our hatred towards the USA. I hate the Americans to death. I'll fight them to the end. I'll kill Americans, survive, and save our revolution. Don't tell me any more about what the USA says about us. If you keep asking about them, I'll stop this interview.
Off camera behind me, my mind is getting nervous.
I advise you, let us stop this kind of talks, because he's getting angry at you.
You have to leave North Korea before you can hear a different story. From Korea to Koreatown in California, the land of the sworn enemy, the United States. And to a small laundry where a former North Korean army officer now has a new life. Kim Yong was once so loyal, he'd have willingly given his life for his great and dear leaders. Today, he's one of the few who fled and lived to tell the tale.
There are so many innocents being brutally treated and living like beasts under the North Korean regime. I want to testify to that.
Kim Yong was an orphan. He joined the army and rose through the ranks until one day it emerged that years before, his father had been hanged as an American spy. Then he fell victim to the heredity rule. In North Korea, it isn't just offenders who are punished, but their children down to 3 generations in order to root out the criminal seed. So without being charged with any crime, Kim Yong was sent to a concentration camp.
I never saw my father's face, but I was punished for what he did decades ago. From what I saw in the prison camp, most first-generation prisoners died there, and their descendants spend their lives in the camp, being treated worse than animals. There were a lot of people like me in the camp, descendants of the sinners, people who spent 20, 30, even 40 years in the camp. Some came with their parents when they were toddlers and have lived there like animals ever since.
In the prison camp, he says, inmates are worked and starved to death. He was tortured in many different ways, and he still has no idea why.
The most unendurable torture was putting me in a very small room with water up to my waist. I could neither sit nor lie down, and I had to stay like that for 48 hours. When I collapsed, they lifted me and forced me to stay like that. It was unbearable. You see this scar on my wrist? They handcuffed me and left me hanging from the ceiling with only the tips of my toes touching the ground, and they left me like that. I couldn't stand the pain. They made me kneel down with a pole jammed against the back of my knees and trampled on my legs with their boots on. My fingernails have healed now, but they were all broken because they stuck sharp bamboo under them. It was an awful experience. I couldn't even kill myself there, though I tried.
We know this from testimonies of North Korean escapees whose accounts corroborate each other, like Sunok Lee. In a previous life, this former Workers' Party official was accused of falsifying accounts and jailed. She too describes endless torture with no purpose.
They had a kettle specially made for torturing. It contained about 10 liters of water. Its spout was specially designed so that when they put it in my mouth, it forced my throat right open. I had to drink the water until I passed out. Then they threw cold water over me. When I woke up, they put a wooden plank across my stomach. They trampled on each side of it. I thought all my intestines were bursting under that pressure. Water came out of my mouth, nose, and every hole in my body. I begged them to kill me. I couldn't bear the pain.
Sunok Lee is one of many former prisoners who say the heredity rule is applied ruthlessly to women prisoners who arrive pregnant.
As the women are political prisoners, their babies inherit their mother's guilt and must be killed. When the baby is born, an officer suffocates the infant by stepping on its neck in front of the mother. The mother screams and begs for her baby's life. It's indescribable. I saw all this.
Back in Pyongyang, the official story is that North Korean prisoners are all treated well. But it's impossible to tell how much these people really know. North Korea will destroy its enemies. But even on our visit, it all goes a bit wrong. Power cuts plague Pyongyang. At night, only the shrines to the Kims are lit. The citizens are left to find their way in the gloom. Outside the city, you can drive for hours in darkness through entire towns and villages where there's no power, no petrol, no light at all. We weren't supposed to film this. Perhaps because it's from these regions beyond Pyongyang in this total blackout that there are again reports of serious food shortages.
Mostly people say the same thing, that we're dying from starvation. We have no electricity, that it's a world of darkness.
But they were starving, and there are food problems, and there are problems with power, and there are problems with transport. That's the truth, isn't it?
Yes, that's true. But as you've seen, we have cities and lights. Is it a world of darkness? Have you seen people starving? No.
But we drove for hours and there was no power. We drove for hours in the darkness. There was no power there.
We do supply electricity to the villages, but we can't supply them all at the same time. We have a rota. They take it in turns. When we were there, it was their turn to wait. That's our system.
But the view from space tells a different story. At night, the Korean peninsula looks like this. The capitalist south is ablaze with light. The north is dark. Apart from that, very little is known about this closed country. For most of the outside world, it's an intelligence black hole. Very few North Koreans make it here to Seoul, the capital of the South. About 100,000 try to escape every year, but they have to go through China, which is very hard. Many are caught, sent back, jailed, and even killed. We know this from North Koreans who've made it to safety. Not just the innocent victims of the regime, but now from one of those who was in charge. We found someone who's decided to talk for the first time about his experience as a prison chief and who corroborates what we've heard from others. In 1999, Kwon Hyuk was a North Korean agent, a senior army intelligence officer stationed in China. Because of his rank, he was persuaded to defect and came to Seoul. Kwon Hyuk is the former chief of North Korea's prison camp number 22.
The prison camp is surrounded by a 3,300-volt electric fence, 2.5 meters high. 3,300 volts. Even an animal would die if it touched the fence.
3,300 고압. 고압 쓰니까.
So there's an electric fence, 2.5 meters high.
거기는 전기 초점망 쫙 이렇게 갔어요. 전기가 3,300 들어가서 그 안에.
Inside the electric fence is a moat surrounding the camp, about 8 to 10 meters deep and wide.
깊이 8m. 그래서 6m 된 데 있고 8m 된 데 있어요.
On the bottom of the moat are spikes sticking up, designed to kill any prisoner who falls while trying to jump over it.
판 있잖아요. 네? 못하고 판은 짱짱해. 여기가 넓이가 8m예요.
No prisoner can escape.
뛰는 사람 없어요. 어느 하루 그런 날이 없어요. 꼭 있어요. 없는 날이 없다.
Not a single day goes by without there being torture, even if there's no reason.
내 기분 나빠도 저 시비를 걸어서라도 때려.
If I was in a bad mood, I would find an excuse.
나빠도 내 시비를 걸어서라도 때려. 그러니까 뭐 그지 매일.
It's just like pigs or dogs. You could beat them every day without caring if they lived or died. Every day.
한 3년까지는 재미를 해요.
For around 3 years, I enjoyed torturing people.
실증이 나면 그다음에 또 다른 사람을 바뀌어요.
But the pleasure wears off year by year, and after about 3 years, you're eventually replaced.
재미를 해요. 기본적으로는 재미를 하는데 그걸 재미로 느껴오다가
Mostly, you do it for pleasure.
한도에서 실증이 날 때에서요. 그럼 그 후배가 또 들어오잖아요. 후배 들어오면 또 후배가 맡아하고.
About once a month, Kwon Hyuk says he ordered public executions in the camp. All the prisoners are made to watch as punishment goes way beyond the heredity principle.
If a political prisoner breaks a camp rule, then not only his family, but also the 5 neighboring families are killed because of collective responsibility. I once killed 31 people, all the members of 5 families.
Kwon Hyuk learnt all this in the army. Back in our North Korean musical, we're being treated to another show of strength. The army is what North Korea's neighbors really fear. Its legendary ruthlessness, efficiency and discipline, plus its arms aimed at the outside world. This is where what little money North Korea has is spent. And now they're going nuclear. American inspectors visiting the country last month confirmed the worst. North Korea probably isn't bluffing.
Reactor Omega 20 has been restarted in Yongbyon.
5메가와트죠 원자로.
It has been in full operation since December.
정상 가동하기 시작했고 지금도 계속 정상 가동하고 있고.
We have reprocessed 8,000 rods of nuclear fuel successfully.
다 재처리했습니다. 성과적으로 6월 말까지.
And has this plutonium, which has been reprocessed according to your statements, is it weapons-grade plutonium?
우리는 이미 밝힌 것처럼
We changed the purpose of the plutonium and decided to use it to strengthen our nuclear deterrent power.
용도를 변경시켰습니다.
North Korea is now thought to have enough reprocessed plutonium for 6, maybe 8 nuclear bombs.
I would be very concerned about the consequences. It is, from an American perspective, and I think for many other people around the world, one of our worst nightmares.
Robert Gulucci was here a decade ago when he signed a deal where North Korea would freeze its nuclear program in return for American technology. But by 2002, the deal was dead. This is how North Korean television reported the news. The new Bush White House, it announced, with its war on terror, had proclaimed a new policy, preemption. It had called North Korea the axis of evil, a rogue state, and warned it would be the target of a nuclear strike.
우리를 핵선제 공격 대상으로 지명한 미국에 대해 미국이 뭐길래 안 좋고 물 맑은 우리 삼천리 금수강산에 또다시 핵구름을 몰아오고 해양 민족의 존엄과 자주권을 짓밟으려고 미친 듯이 따라가고 있단 말입니까?
특히 부시 행정부가 취임 후에 우리나라를 이 악의 축으로 선정하고
The Bush administration called us the axis of evil and declared they would deliver a preemptive nuclear strike.
것과 같은 이러한 것으로 해서 적대 관계.
Since then, our hatred towards America has reached its peak.
정책의 최적에 달했다.
America hatred has proved lucrative for North Korea. Its ballistic missiles, its biggest exports, sell very well to other America haters around the world. And those same buyers might now be interested in North Korea's new nuclear line. For the rest of the world, this is the nightmare scenario.
The concern would be that North Korea would transfer, sell highly enriched uranium, even more likely than plutonium, once they produce it, to Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda could directly, by itself, produce a simple nuclear weapon, a device that would nominally yield about 10 or 12 kilotons, that they would deliver it by some simple means, a truck, a ship, a container, to some port in the world, and it would detonate, and it would kill hundreds of thousands of people instantaneously, and another couple of 100,000 people in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That would be the nightmare.
But it can't be great, if you're a North Korean, to be called part of the axis of evil. These people are totally cut off from the outside world. They've been through a famine. This boy's 15. And now, America, their sworn enemy, wants to bomb them. No wonder there's only ever one answer when you ask them who's to blame.
Bush. The warmonger.
Does anybody have another opinion?
이자하고 이분이 이자 미국에 대해서 얘기했는데 여기 지금 다 모여 있는 사람들도 다 같은 의견이에요? 네. Yes. So it's yeah, same opinion.
Everybody agrees.
Everybody agrees with his voice and rules.
Would anybody like to add something?
여기
Then anybody else like to say something?
여기 지금 스탄 사람들이 모였는데 다른 사람 뭘 좀 더 얘기할 것 같아. 야, 아니야 이거.
They're running away. My efforts to generate a lively debate aren't going down very well. And my minders are getting nervous. It's all a bit too unscripted for them.
We will never forgive anyone who tries to undermine our country or our great leader, or who interferes with our sovereignty. Beware. Whether we strike first or second, that's up to us.
And if you believe from birth that the world is out to get you, as it may well be, any response, however violent, becomes legitimate.
We have a deterrent. It can hit anywhere in the world. Anyone who attacks us, whether it's America, the UK or Germany, we will get them first. Don't ask me how, I won't say.
Is this what he's hinting at?
The capability to lay waste to the entire Korean peninsula and to spread either missiles, chemical or biological weapons, and potentially even nuclear weapons over a much broader area.
And how do we know that?
There's lots of evidence that North Korea has these capabilities, both from defectors, from intercepts of chemicals that they've imported, from satellite intercepts, from communication intercepts, and also spies on the ground.
We're hearing something else, more sinister, from those who've seen the North Korea that we're not being shown. That the prison camps are a giant laboratory for testing chemical poisons, with prisoners as guinea pigs.
갑자기 점심시간에 감옥에 잡혀온 지 얼마 되지 않는 아주 건강한
An officer ordered me to select 50 healthy female prisoners.
지시를 했어요. 군인이 경비대 군인이 나한테 바게트에다 그 배추를 그 물에다 살짝
One of the guards handed me a basket full of soaked cabbage leaves.
들고 왔어요. 그리고 너는 여기에서 한 오리도 먹어서는 안 된다.
He told me not to eat any, but to give them to the 50 women.
배추 시래기를 50오리를 딱 세워서 가져왔기 때문에
I started to hand them out and heard a scream. Oh, my stomach, my tummy, please save me, from those who'd started eating them.
한 오리씩 다 넣어놨었어요. 그런데 그 50명을 다 넣어주기도 전에
After giving them all out, I looked round and saw a scene from hell.
아이고 막 소리 지르고 막 사람 살려달라는 소리 지른 바람에 나는 무슨 영문인지 몰라서 마지막 50명한테 배추 시래기를 넣어주고 돌아섰는데
I can never forget that nightmare.
지금도 잊을 수가 없어요. 너무나 떨리는 그 현장을 먹게 했는데 사람들이 입에서
They were all roaring and vomiting blood. Black blood was coming out of their mouths and bottoms.
막 그저 쫙쫙 나가요. 나는 그때 그 현장이
I never knew a human being could vomit and bleed that much in such a short time. It was like hell.
정말 그렇게 막 토하고 쏘고
All 50 people were vomiting and screaming with pain.
50명이 선자리에서 배가 하고서
After 20 minutes, they were all dead.
뭐 한 20분도 될까 말까 했는데 현장에 50명이 다 쓰러지고
For a North Korean, adapting to life in Seoul isn't easy. Today, Kwon Hyuk's inside knowledge has made him useful to the South Korean government. But he carries a burden. He's brought with him a horrific secret from his days as security chief at prison camp number 22, which he now says the world must know. His testimony doesn't just corroborate what we've heard, it goes much further.
작년에 인체 실험 공장.
I will now tell you about the laboratories for experiments on humans.
인체 실험장이라 할 때는 인체 실험장이가
These laboratories are all made of glass.
유리관으로 유리를 돼 있고 그 안에
The glass chamber has three main subdivisions. One is for blood experiments, another is for poison gas, and the third is for suffocation gas. The size of the lab is almost the same as this room. Three or four people, normally a family, are experimented on. Once inside the lab, they're all stripped naked and checked medically to ensure they're healthy before they're put in the chamber. When it's sure they're free of disease, they're put inside. This is the room, and these walls are all made of glass. This is all sealed. You have to walk up this ladder to go in, and up here to watch from above. This is 3.5 meters wide, 3 meters long, and 2.2 meters high. The scientists sit round the edge and observe the experiment from above through the glass. The injection tube comes down through the unit, and it's attached like this. This is the main door to the chamber, and this is another automatic door. Normally, a family sticks together like this. Individual prisoners stand here and here, separately in the corners. I watched a whole family being tested on suffocating gas and dying in the gas chamber. Parents, one son and a daughter. The parents were vomiting and dying, but till the very last moment they tried to save their kids by doing mouth-to-mouth breathing. For the first time it hit me that even prisoners are capable of powerful human affection.
When you saw these experiments on human beings, what did you think? What did you feel?
At the time, I felt that they thoroughly deserved such a death. We were all led to believe that all the bad things that were happening to North Korea were their fault, that we were poor, divided, and not making progress as a country because of them.
What about the children? Did you feel they deserved to die too?
It would be a total lie to say I felt sympathy for the children dying such a painful death. In the society and the regime I was under, I just felt they were enemies, so I felt no sympathy or pity for them at all.
Rumours of human experimentation in North Korea's prisons have been reported by a number of defectors who've made it to... Kim Sang-han has for years been a distinguished human rights activist. He was honoured last April by Time magazine as one of their Men of the Year. He's obtained some remarkable evidence.
This is a North Korean document smuggled out of North Korea recently, clearly explaining that political prisoners are used for the purpose of human biological experimentation and for the production of biological weapons.
He obtained the documents from another official, someone else who worked at Prison Camp 22, who hid them in his trousers before escaping North Korea. Each document has a different prisoner's name. If they're genuine, they are the first real proof of a terrible crime by North Korea against its people. The question is, how credible are they? Explain to me why this is evidence.
This carries North Korean format first, and the quality of paper which is North Korean paper, and it has official stamp of the agencies involved with this human experimentation stamp, which they cannot deny. And it carries names of the victims and where and how and why these people were experimented.
How do you know it's real? How do you know it's not a forgery?
Okay, the stamps, and I have shown this to a number of North Korean defectors, and I heard similar stories from more than 20 or 30 refugees. Their testimonies converged on one fact, that human biological and surgical experimentation is taking place for many years and systematically, and the number of victims are very many. It's a widespread practice.
The document is headed Letter of Transfer. It's stamped Top Secret and dated February 2002. The name of the victim was Lin Han Hua. He was 39. The text reads,
"The above person is transferred from Camp 22 for the purpose of human experimentation with liquid gas for chemical weapons."
We've checked the document with an independent Korean expert who says it looks authentic. But I wanted to run one more check with the former official of Prison Camp 22 who didn't know I'd seen the letter of transfer. Can I ask you a very specific question? How were the people selected to go into this gas chamber? Was there paperwork? Was it written down somewhere?
나는 호송에 가면
When we escort them to the lab, we bring with them a letter of transfer.
Letter of transfer. In Seoul, they know this, but they pretend they don't. Instead, recent South Korean governments have done everything to strengthen the northern regime, with millions in aid and illegal payments straight to dear leader Kim Jong-il. Because what the world's 12th largest economy really wants is stability. And what it dreads above all is a tide of 22 million destitute country cousins coming to stay.
We do not encourage any North Koreans to defect.
Why not?
We want to improve situation in North Korea so that North Koreans do not have to defect. That's our primary concern. Regime change is not our objective. We want to negotiate with North Korean government to improve situation in North Korea.
Regime change is not your objective?
No.
You don't want Kim Jong-il gone?
Well, I'm saying that, we are not pursuing any regime change.
This reception is for the most senior defector of all, 83-year-old Hwang Jang-yop, changed sides after a lifetime with the Kims. He's come to Washington, South Korean minders in tow, with the zeal of the convert. His message to the Americans is, stand firm, don't do any deal with Kim Jong-il.
At the moment, the peacemakers are afraid of that evil regime, so they keep yielding, giving them aid and ingratiating themselves with them. But that's completely wrong and a very bad attitude. I'm saying they are evil. They repress and starve their people and make the whole nation a huge prison.
So what's to be done?
My position is that the Kim Jong-il regime must be eliminated.
김정일 독재 체제를 제거해야 된다.
But Washington's suffering battle fatigue. Huang's an old man, and no one's listening. Not to him, not to any of those who've suffered the true evil of North Korea. Kim Jong-il may well be a dictator, but North Korea has no oil, and it's far away. The voices of defectors won't be heard at the talks to solve the current standoff between Pyongyang and Washington. The six-nation talks, due to start up again soon, will only address the nuclear question. Human rights won't be on anyone's agenda. North Koreans about the human rights abuses there. Have you discussed it with them?
We are concerned about the human rights situation in North Korea, and the North Korean authorities will be aware of the fact. But in inter-Korean dialogues, we basically deal with more imminent issues.
If this terrible twist of fate had not occurred, and you hadn't been arrested because of the discovery of your father, would you be a happy North Korean citizen, still believing in the greatness of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il?
I don't know if I would be happy there, but I know I would still be loyal to Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, and I would serve them for life.
Why people outside believe that your people are either brainwashed or frightened.
Everything we do is right.
We conduct everything in righteous way, in politically, economically, and militarily.
But you say that. But others don't agree. They say you're not righteous. They say you're evil. They say you're bad.
That's why we need you to represent our view.
Do you ever wonder whether maybe you have been deceived?
No.
Never?
Never.
What about Juan?
Never.
Another crocodile in the stream of pilgrims to Kim the Father's enormous tomb. This actress has 2 minutes to make them cry.
사람들이여, 삶과 구름을 멈추시라. 수많은 정적 속에 불빛도 수개운이 흐르는 여기는 너무도 애석하게.
It's called the Crying Room. It's where they get the story of his death.
억장 밑구름이 무너져 내리던 그날 이 자리에 땅으로 다시 재워주시며 역사의 방향틀을 억세게 틀어잡고 고연히 일어서신 우리 인민의 위대한 영도자 김정일 동지.
She's got her tear. It's over. On to the next group. The North Korean government says all the charges in this film are lies. Let them open prison camp 22 to inspectors and prove it.